Hey Waxers, it's Jeff from Dead Wax Database. I got a request to show off some of the records in my large collection, and while I don't have access to the collection right now, it's all boxed up, I do go out once a month and buy records, and so I thought I would share the ones that I got for January. I know it's a little early, but there happened to be a record show in Tarrytown, which is not too far from here in northern New Jersey, and I thought I'd share what I got today. First, in alphabetical order, two titles from Columbia's Louis Armstrong, the Louis Armstrong Story series. These were put out multiple times by Columbia. I got Volume 1, Louis Armstrong and his Hot Five, and Volume 3, Louis Armstrong and Earl Hines today. Hopefully I'll pick up more of those as time goes on. Each of those, of course, are on the red Columbia with Columbia around the perimeter label because they are represses. If you don't know who Louis Armstrong is, your patriotism may be questioned. I think you should check it out right away. Next, we have Glen Campbell. I Knew Jesus Before He Was a Star. This is a record that I don't know any of the songs off of. Campbell, of course, was a country pop performer and singer in the 60s and 70s. Also a fantastic guitar player. He was a session player before he was a recording artist in his own right. Next, we have several from Miles Davis. I got Quiet Nights, arranged and conducted by Gil Evans. Davis, like Armstrong, one of the great trumpet players in jazz. Davis, of course, recording from the late 40s through his death in the 1990s. This is Miles Davis in Europe. And that was it for that. Both on Columbia. By the way, if you see a cover with one of these stickers on it, that means that the record label has given it a new catalog number. One of the things I'm doing on this channel, of course, is explaining how the catalog numbers for each of the record labels work. And so this indicates that the catalog number has been changed, in this case from a CS prefix to a KCS prefix. Record labels do this so that they won't have to get rid of old covers. They can just keep reusing them before they redesign them with the new catalog numbers. Next, we have Duke Ellington with Billy Strayhorn, his longtime collaborator. This is on Riverside. This is actually a repress on Fantasy, in Fantasy's original jazz classics series. It was originally put out on Riverside. This is the repress. Ellington, like Armstrong and Miles Davis, a jazz great that you need to know about. Here's a group that you probably don't need to know about at all. They're called the Fifth Dimension. I do not recommend that you buy this record or any Fifth Dimension record, perhaps the Greatest Hits record. That's really all you need from them, unless you are a true Fifth Dimension fan or a completist like me. Although this does have a cool cover. It opens like this, and then it has an interior insert for the record. This is called a Unipack when it goes on in the inside here. Like that. This is on the Bell label, and this gatefold is sort of a mirror image of the group. So that's kind of cool. The Flying Burrito Brothers, their self-titled record. I have not listened to this yet, but I am a fan of the Flying Burrito Brothers, who include among their members Chris Hillman, earlier in The Byrds. They are worth your checking out. It should go without saying that Aretha Franklin should be on everyone's list of artists to know, one of the greatest voices of the 20th century. This particular record on Atlantic is called With Everything I Feel in Me, from the early 1970s. On Riverside, offbeat folk songs with Bob Gibson. Gibson is a mostly now forgotten folk singer. He was in that early wave of modern folk singers playing the banjo here. I believe he also played guitar, but I'm not sure of that. This is on Riverside. It is in mono. And I believe it is an original pressing. There we go. The original mono on Riverside. Next, Went dark for a second there. Herbie Hancock, Secrets, one of his many 1970s records. This came out, I believe, in 72, 73. I'm not checking quickly. Herbie Hancock's always worth a listen. Another great jazz artist. Tim Hardin, another folky. This is his third record, Tim Hardin 3 Live in Concert. I'm trying to avoid getting the glare on there. This is on Verve Forecast. This is another original pressing. Actually, it might be a repressing on Verve Forecast. That looks like a later label to me. Then, wonderful, The Roots of Lightnin' Hopkins. Hopkins was a blues player who recorded hundreds of albums over the years from the 1950s onward. This is a Folkways release. There's the label. And Janis Ian, a record called Who Really Cares from 1969. I'm not a big fan of Janis Ian, but I am a completist, of course. And so this one on Verve Forecast as well. It's that same label that we saw a moment ago. Ian, of course, was a well-known folk singer in the 1960s, but she continued recording through the 70s and 80s. I think she may still be with us. I'm not sure. Next up, another jazz recording. J.J. Johnson, a trombonist who, in addition to recording his own records, many of them, he also recorded a whole lot of records with Kai Winding, mostly on Columbia, but also on other labels. This is Columbia 6i. See the eyes? 6 eyes. Ah! Almost dropped it. Trying to go quickly so that we can get through these rapidly, the whole month's purchases. Janis Joplin, Janis soundtrack to the film that was made after her death. It is a gatefold with some terrific photos inside of Joplin throughout her short career. She died quite young. Very cool. Look at these outfits. There's the back. This is on Columbia. It is a double LP. Again, on the red Columbia label from the 1970s, from 1975, I believe. Tony Mottola's Guitar Factory. Mottola was one of many artists featured on Enoch Light's label. This is Project 3. Light also had the Command label and the Grand Award label. They put out a number of records in the late 50s and early 60s of hi-fi, early stereo. This one is a gatefold. And there's the label for Project 3. Making our way into the ends. Ted Nugent, gatefold. This screams 1970s. This is called Cat Scratch Fever. This was very popular when I was in junior high school. I was never a Ted Nugent fan, but this is apparently a good record, so I'm looking forward to listening to this. There's the gatefold, the inner part of it. This is released on Epic. There's the Epic label. And from the mid-1980 version of Iggy Pop, this one called Instinct. There's the back. This was released on A&M. I don't know the songs on this, but I'm looking forward to learning about that. I am a fan of Iggy Pop. Also a fan of Jimmy Reed. Folk Blues. This is a wonderful, wonderful old record. I've been reading about it on the VJ label. Here's the back. Now, here's an item that no one should ever buy. This is called the Complete Sea, a collection of 3 records on the theme of the sea, which were called The Sea, Home to the Sea, and The Soft Sea, written by Anita Kerr, words by Rod McEwen. It's the San Sebastian Strings. Really, really unnecessary for your collection. But since I already have some stuff by them, of course I have to keep going. That is a 3-record box set, and I already had 2 of the 3, I think, records individually that come in there. 2 records from Pete Seeger, folk singer extraordinaire, historian. Pete Seeger at the Village Voice, Volume 2. This is on Folkways. Here's the old Folkways label in mono. And Pete Seeger sings American ballads with that wonderful Folkways cover, that fold-around cover that they had. Folkways also is the old Folkways label. Folkways would also make these interesting record sleeves that had an additional divider in them. I don't know if you can see that. And on the other side of the divider, they would always have one of these little booklets, which would typically have the lyrics to the songs and sometimes explanations historically of where they came from. Getting towards the end, the soundtrack to The Who's film Quadrophenia. This is different from The Who's studio album of the same name. This is the music from the film. You might also notice someone who's going to be showing up in our 80s videos soon. If I can point the right direction. You know who that is? That's Sting from The Police in an early acting role in the middle of that gatefold. This is a double LP with custom labels on Polydor. Of course, The Who is a group whose records you should have every one of to a title. This is a wonderful find. Jazz at the Philharmonic, Volume 17. Norman Granz was the creator of a number of jazz labels in the 1940s, 50s, and through the 60s. This is Volume 17 of, it's got to be a 25 or 35 volume set. And this single volume, this box has 3 records in it, so you can imagine how much music is included in these Jazz at the Philharmonic's box sets. This includes 12 small portraits, photographic portraits of a dozen of the artists who appear in this set. It's wonderful. I can't wait to listen to that. Also, this I didn't mean to get. I meant to get it, but I didn't recognize the title. It's a Miles Davis record. It says Time After Time. The reason I didn't recognize the title is that it isn't an LP. It's a single. It's only got 2 songs on it, Time After Time, backed with Katya. But it was only $5, so what the heck. That's it for the January purchases. That brings the grand total in my collection to 10,487 LPs. I'm not sure if there's anyone else in New Jersey who isn't a record store owner that has that many LPs. Actually, I know Michael Fremer probably has more than that, quite a number more, but he's kind of in the business. In any case, I look forward to seeing you soon. I hope you enjoyed looking at those with me. And if you get a chance, pick those records up at your local record store or at least stream them so you know who they are. Take care, and I'll see you soon.